Sleeves here with your Senior Pickleball Report, powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today we have an interview with Bob Strummen. He is the owner of JBB United, a new franchise in the newly formed National Pickleball League, which starts this June. Bob is a financial services entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker, and we talk all things pickleball. But first, if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel, hit that notification bell, check out our socials, check out the links in our description for discounts on items like paddles and shoes, and check out our merch page. All right, on to the interview with Bob. From JBB United, the first team to be purchased for the newly formed National Pickleball League, let's welcome its owner, Bob Strummen. How you doing, Bob?
Fantastic. It's good to be in Naples today, like always.
Right on. So let's start with, you finding pickleball just on a personal level and go from there so we can build a story here.
Well, it's like many of us. I'm a Minnesota native. That's where my home base is. I bounce between Minnesota and Naples. And about 5 years ago, I had a friend who said, "Do you want to play pickleball with me?" And I said, "What is pickleball?" And she went on to explain that this is this new fabulous game and everyone's playing it. And I said, well, let me go watch it to see if I even want to get involved. And so I watched the game and went out there in my flip-flops and hit the ball a few times. Thought, well, this is kind of fun. I came from a racquetball, competitive badminton perspective. So I kind of understood this high hand coordination thing. And I said, well, I think I would like to learn this game. So I did like everybody. I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and bought the cheapest paddle I could find. And and I looked at the thing and I said, okay, I think this is going to work. And I started playing in a gym floor in the Twin Cities in the winter. And I thought, this is really a fascinating game. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to learn the game, I got to figure out where to play and really learn it. And I've been coming down to Naples, thanks to my parents, since 1987. Okay. So I thought, well, the most logical place is to go to Florida in the winter of Minnesota. So So I went down there, I hunted out where should I go, and I stumbled across this, what I thought was this little venue in East Naples, and signed up for a camp. And I walked out there and saw that at the time they had 56 courts. And I thought, wow, this is quite a facility. I participated in this camp, and I thought, well, this is really a blast because it was something new and it was athletic and it was competitive. And I kind of got this eye-hand coordination, getting the ball over the net. They started talking about dinking, and I said, okay, help explain dinking, what that's all about. And I kind of fell in love with it. And so every month I would go down to Naples to take lessons. And then I started kind of looking around this place. I'm going to try to transgress how I got involved really in pickleball, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I kind of looked around this place and I said, well, what's the deal here? It was called East Naples Community Park Pickleball or something, really sexy like that. And they just said, well, it's county owned, but there's a guy that runs it like it's his own business. And I just kind of scratched my head, couldn't quite figure it out. And long story short, about a year later, I approached him right after COVID, the spring, would that be spring of 2020? Would it be spring of 20? And I just said, I'm not sure what this deal is, but if you ever decide that you would like to get out, you're trying to figure out how to get out, I might be your solution. Give me a call someday. Yeah. And I still didn't know what I was asking, so the next day he shot me an email. He said, let's talk. And that was
quick.
That was April of 2020. And by September of 2020, we had a deal, and October 31st of 20, I owned it. And when I say owned it, I own the management company that ran it on behalf of the county.
Yeah.
And so you talk about going from not even understanding what the game is to, at that time, it had grown to 66 courts. I had the tagline of pickleball capital of the world. And I went, wow. I said, this is quite a journey. And it really kind of stirred my entrepreneurial juices and said, okay, how do we make this place not just a big pickleball journey, but a place that operates and performs and acts and behaves like the pickleball world.
Right.
And so it's been really a fun journey.
Yeah, I mean, in fast, obviously, you jumped right on the fast bandwagon. I thought I was getting ambitious by starting a pickleball channel when I was playing for a few months, and you went and got a building with some courts, and now moving towards a franchise in this new league for 50 plus. Lead us to sort of this, I guess the narrative as it moves from getting the center and managing the center to deciding, you're going to invest in the first team of this league.
Well, like getting involved with the Naples Pickleball Center, which was one of the first things we did, was to rebrand it so I had an identity that absolutely represented who we were. I have to give a lot of credit to one of the first people that I really hired that had some substance was two ladies from California that anyone that's followed pickleball knows, Jennifer LaCour and Alex Hamner.
Absolutely.
And I said, would you come on board to help me grow this business so that it's something of really significance? Because no one knows the game better than those two ladies, Hall of Fame. They gave us some instantaneous credibility that we're for real. And in the course of this whole process, Jennifer and Alex and I became just exceedingly good friends, and because they're exceptional people with unbelievable character. And they knew the game in a way that I will probably never know the game because they played it at such a high level.
Right.
And so as NPC grew, and then all of a sudden, Major League Pickleball popped in, and I kind of caught the curve a little late. I thought, well, that sounds cool. I should think about that. And by that time, it had already zoomed past me, and it went from a fairly token franchise fee to something kind of staggering with LeBron James and Cuban and Kevin Durant and this whole crew. And I just kind of said, well, that's what happens when you have to think about something for a while. Good opportunities pass you by. And so all of a sudden I'm actually sitting on a park bench at NPC and with one of our head pros, Eva Welcher, who's in the top 5 of the world.
Yep, I've interviewed her.
And I was saying, okay, Eva, tell me what's going on. I said, we got the MLP, we got the PPA, we got the APP, we got the USA Pickleball. I said, it seems like everyone's fighting for their turf. I said, what's it like as a player? I was just curious from her perspective.
Yeah.
And she jumped in and she said, it's all sorting out. But she said, a lot of us seniors kind of are feeling like they're pushed off to the side a little bit because they're putting so much emphasis on these young kids. And we just can't compete with them. Not that we don't have ability anymore. It just age is a factor.
Sure.
And so she said, they're starting this. There's this new league called National Pickleball League. I said, really? I said, who's the mover and shaker on that deal? And she said, well, it hasn't even announced yet. And I said, who's the mover and shaker on that deal? And she said, well, Chen. And Michael actually plays at NPC. So I called Michael that afternoon and said, Michael, I said, you and I have never met. And he said, well, I know who you are, Bob, but he said, what's up? And I said, I hear you're involved in this National Pickleball League. I said, can you and I visit soon? And he said, well, how about tomorrow? And I said, you're on. So we were out, we stopped and had a late dinner and drank a couple beers, and he gave me the whole philosophy behind it. And he said, what's your interest? And I says, I want to be your first team. He said, well, he said, well, we'd love to. He said, we need a little more information. And I said, well, no, I need more information, but I just want to make sure that you know where I'm at. And he said, well, we already have 15 people that are interested in the top, and we're only taking 6. And I said, that's great. I said, I'm glad to hear it. I said, so I want to be one of the first 6. Yeah. And actually I want to be the first one. And 4 weeks later, I signed the letter of intent, and here I am. So that's, and after he said, "You're in, Bob, and we'd like to have you be the first team announced," I said, "Well, then I got to make one more phone call." And I called Jennifer LaCour and I said, "Okay, Jennifer, I just did this." And I said, "Will you be on my board of JBB United?" And at that time, that name didn't even exist. And she said, "Are you asking for money?" I said, I'm asking for your expertise and your talent and support." He said, "I'm in." So Jennifer is my, I call her my director of talent, but she doesn't like that title. So I just call her my board member. And so she came to the combine. She's been involved with me, and she's giving me insight that I just could never get without her experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't pick somebody better. I mean, my God, you picked a Hall of Famer, and then I don't know Jennifer, but from what you've said with her character and stuff like that, you apparently know how to surround yourself with good people. So,
well, you got to do it because it doesn't, as you get a little older in life, you realize that if you think you're hot stuff, you're already set up for failure, because there's so many talented people, and the success is those that you surround yourself with, not your own little talent. So I'm an idea guy. I don't take a lot of time making decisions. And then I surround myself with people to make this reality. And Jennifer is sure one of those people.
Right on. Talk about the name. I love the idea behind the name. I know about it a little bit, but I don't think our listeners do. So talk about JBB United.
Yeah, I'm going to give Jennifer 99.9% credit for this one, because the whole philosophy of the league was to honor the heritage of the game and to honor those that have made the game possible so that it can become the way it is today. And so, as everyone knows, this game, and Jennifer knew the family. Jennifer and her mom knew the family intimately well. And she said, "Why don't we name this team after the founders of the game?" Yeah. And because I had come up with Naples United, because I just love the connotation of united and how that can play into so many things. And she said, there was this Jack Pritchard and Barney McCallum and Bill Bell who started this game. And let's name it JBB United, as really to show tribute and honor to the people that made this whole thing possible.
Hey, if you're looking for very, very comfortable court shoes, in fact, the most comfortable court shoes I've ever worn, and I've worn a lot of them over the years playing different sports, try Fitville. We have a link in the description that gets you $20 off your purchase.
I love it. I love it. And, it fits perfectly because a lot of the people in the Champions Tour, AKA senior divisions, are people who are kind of, saw things from the beginning of the pro game, really, what I would call the modern pro game anyways. And they're just taking it to a new level. They're building a legacy. I've said this in other interviews, for people who eventually, you're still playing this game that are pros now, to continue their careers just like people do in tennis and golf. Maybe talk a little bit about kind of the expectations. And I know it's wide open. Things change in the first couple of years of the league, and you go through growing pains. But, you went to the combine, and you kind of saw the excitement there, and you got the draft coming up, which will be amazing, I'm sure. Just talk about, maybe some expectations you have for the upcoming season starting in June.
I think what I was most impressed with the combine, which it really helped crystallize the vision better, is that all 6 team owners, and they're starting the season out as the founding team owners of 6 teams, they all have such a similar vision, which is, one is to honor the heritage of the game, to make sure that this group of people that have gotten to a certain stage in their life continue to have an outlet for the greatness of the game, for us to make sure that we have fun and act as a family, because one of the things that's a little different is our teams are made up of 12 active players, 16 on the roster, and it's really a family type approach, and people use that term flippantly a lot of times as, "Oh, we're one big happy family." But the point is that there isn't this hierarchy that you have NPL, then you have the team owners, and it's, oh yeah, we got players.
Yeah.
We've really turned the whole pyramid upside down and just saying,
Right.
it's all about the players, and we got to treat them with the dignity that they deserve. And our success, I've used the phrase, I said, in Kevin Costner's movie Field of Dreams, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And if we really do this right, if we really honor that senior player, if we really honor the players who are out there fulfilling their passion and also having an absolute blast doing what they're doing,
Right.
then that's going to resonate through everything. And I saw that at the combine. They had capped the number of people on the combine to 80 people. And
Right.
these are people that are not, these aren't the Scott Moores of the world. I mean, these are the people who are not rated, who said, I want to prove to you that I'm a pretty good player. I'm a great person. I'm a person of integrity. I can be a gentleman or and a gracious winner and even a better loser. And we had 5 that flew here from Singapore.
That's incredible.
We had 2 that are going to be in the draft from Australia. And these are people who have made a commitment that if they get selected, they got to spend 4 to 6 more trips to the United States to play.
Right. That's no joke.
No, it is no joke. And there will be, we anticipate there'll be about 200 people ultimately in the draft pool.
Yeah.
And we're going to be taking 96, and one of which has to be a super senior male and a super senior female. This is not a group of 50-year-olds, and we again shove that people aside.
Right.
And we actually had a couple players there we had a lady from Singapore that was 81 years old.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. And she said, I'm not going to make the team, but she said, I thought, how fun is this?
Yeah. How cool is that?
And she was one of the nicest ladies around. And we had a couple 72-year-olds. And so it was really fun. And the fact that we must have super seniors on each team is just a public statement that we really are committed to our philosophy of the team.
Absolutely. And you touched on a bunch of things there. I mean, anybody that has watched, and I've said this a million times, I watch probably an unhealthy amount of pickleball, but mostly it's senior pickleball because that's the age group I'm in. I'm going to be turning 56. And if you watch them play, and if you've seen them play, and if you get the opportunity to see them play in person, it's insane how good they are. And at the end of the day, if you follow any of them on social media, you can see at the end of the day, they're eating dinner together. They're having drinks. They're competing hard during the day, but at night, they're enjoying themselves. And it is a community, like you mentioned. It is a family. And I think what's ultimately happening here with NPL is you're just creating a bigger family and a bigger network of people who love this game, who aren't doing it to make money or make a living, because they've made their marks in life, a lot of them already. And they've done amazing things. They're doing amazing things now. And they're sort of, like you mentioned, rejuvenated for a sport that, they can compete hard in, and they can play for money, and they can play for prizes, and they get to compete at a place where you get to sit down and have some food and beer and see them up close. I can't imagine how this is not going to be amazing.
No, it's been interesting to hear the stories of the team, the people who wanted to be a team owner that didn't make it. They weren't selected for the first 6. And they just said, are you sure you can't expand it? He said, we are going to expand it, but next year. And so you're absolutely right. This is a group of people who not only love the game, but they're also appreciating the fact that we are committed to treating them with the dignity and respect that they typically have not seen or felt in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you're, like I mentioned earlier, you're building a legacy, but also you have a farm system of people who will be well-known names by the time they come in to NPL, because they've established themselves in open pro play. And it's I don't know if it's sort of an unknown built-in thing that a lot of people really maybe haven't even thought of. Like, you get all these players that eventually 1 or 2 every year that are
at some point were probably superstars, or still are, the Lee Whitwells of the world who made a name in MLP, and, eventually, Johnson Cola, Matt Wright. So these are names that are not too far away from being in your league. So talk about maybe, you touched on growth a little bit, and, I get it. You can't just go from, of course, Major League Pickleball, they went from whatever they had to like 24 teams, but you touched upon people that are interested, they're growing the league. Talk about moving forward and where you see this personally in a few years.
Well, crystal ball is always tough.
Yeah, sure.
But you try to have a really well-defined vision, and I'll give all the credit to the world to Michael Chen and Rick Whitson and Beth Bellamy, because they said, let's start the season out with a small number of manageable teams. We're going to do it at chicken and pickle locations so that all of our events are going to be indoors. So we won't have any weather delays, weather cancellations, and that we can look back on the first year and says it was a resounding success.
Right.
And let's make sure that we know what we're doing before we start running fast, because you're right. Because we don't have the luxury of a couple $2 billion behind us in some of these MLP, and that really isn't our objective in the first place. Is to say, how do we turn a small pool of money into a huge pool of money?
Right.
And it's not just a toy, which I think could be perceived when a LeBron James buys a team. He says,
sure.
Oh, come on, is he actually going to be there?
Well, that's the thing. Will he be at an event? I asked somebody that this year. Will he be at an event this year? And they're like, it probably would distract from the event if he showed up.
Yeah. So I think the whole attitude is that what will be really interesting is next year, as they start talking to people who have inquired about being a team owner, and they've had a lot of VC venture capital people who have inquired, and we said, no, venture capital people have a different mindset than people who come out of the pickleball world. And one of the first statements that Michael always said to me is that we're not in it to make money the first 1 or 2 years. So if you're looking for quick cash flow, this is the wrong deal. No, we're not opposed to making money, but we'll make the money if we do it right. So, this will be teams of up to maybe 24, in the league. Whether it goes to 18 and 16 or beyond next year is yet to be seen. How this first year, because we don't want to dilute the talent either.
Absolutely.
You got to make sure that as people evolve, and you're absolutely right, these traditional MLP great younger people in their 40s, they're also going to realize that they wake up and they're 50 years old and they have another home, to go to, and they can compete at the highest level. And so, the vision is that eventually every team city will be a location for an event.
That's great.
But we really want to be at locations where there's covered courts and we can control the environment and not have rainouts, and really be able to produce a miraculous product that is fun to watch and fun to participate in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bob, I don't want to take a lot of your time here. I appreciate what you're doing and taking part in investing and caring about this game and caring about it at a level that is not necessarily, right in the public eye. It's sort of the peripheral end of the seniors. And then there's another end that's starting to develop, which is, the college end and the younger end. And both of them are important bookends in this sport. So I look forward to meeting you at an event this season. And hopefully I can get to 1 or 2. And best of luck, and have a blast during the draft as well.
Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this, and we're just excited about the future of NPL, and we're even more excited about what we can give to the seniors and giving them a continued outlet to play the game that they've learned to love and adore, and create a legacy that will live on forever.
Okay, folks, that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Again, subscribe to that channel for us, help our numbers out, and hey, let's pickle. New paddle company, Pickle, PCKL, great paddle line, great price points. Anything you want from starter paddle to intermediate to a pro series high level paddle. Check them out. Get 15% off using my discount code. Pickle. It's the future.